Tariffs are really going to reduce consumerism. And let me tell you, buying shit from China is not sustainable for anybody. But Pluto and Aquarius is about we are more focused on the people, the collective, what benefits humanity, what is going to benefit the greater good. Tariffs are just one major example of how this is already starting to take place. Hi, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I want to talk about how Pluto and Aquarius is really bringing us kind of through force in a lot of ways, the transformation as it relates to our spending habits. And the tariffs, like this video is titled, are very Pluto and Aquarius. Now, this isn't about having a political affiliation or anything like that. This is about the energetic and spiritual energy behind this legislation and how it is really going to benefit humanity and benefit the collective. And as I've been talking about for years, with Pluto moving into Aquarius, I have a whole compilation video with all of my content talking about Pluto and Aquarius, but this is a really big shift. We're going to start to see this really take hold, especially this year. And now that as I'm filming this, Pluto is retrograde in Aquarius, and for the first time, it will not retrograde back into Capricorn. We are really starting to see the transformation in our day-to-day lives. Now, this full transformation is going to take about 18 years until Pluto is at the tail end of Aquarius and leaves Aquarius, but we are already starting to see these general themes take place in our society. And the tariffs is one major example of it. Now, first, I want to talk about Pluto and Capricorn and how Pluto and Capricorn really had us overspending, over-consuming. Capricorn is all about business and capitalism and the boom of all of those things, exponential growth. This is when we really started to see people flaunt their wealth in a major way, like the Kardashians gained fame when Pluto moved into Capricorn, and we have seen that really root and take hold over the last 15 years as Pluto continued to move through Capricorn. But now that is shifting. We are more focused on the people, the collective, what benefits humanity, and what is going to benefit the greater good, and what's going to benefit everyone that is on this planet and the planet itself as a whole. And tariffs are just one major example of how this is already starting to take place. Tariffs are really going to reduce consumerism. They are going to reduce our ability to purchase and consume useless items. Many of us really do not need more shit in our lives, especially low quality stuff that isn't going to last very long. And these tariffs are going to force us to stop outsourcing for the items that we need and to start going within our local community or our local town or our local state or wherever we are. It's going to force us to really operate more locally. Now, this is mostly going to take place in the United States, obviously, because that is where the tariffs are happening. But I think we're really going to see this on a worldwide scale as well. People going back to their roots and wanting to buy things locally. Now, when I was living in France, I really got to see that, oh, the rest of the world kind of already just like lives this way. Like most things I was buying at the grocery store, at shops, were made in a neighboring country or were made in France. And that is what these tariffs are creating for the United States. We're going to start to see more manufacturing here. We're going to start to see more reliance on local and shopping small, people going to their farmers market for things, people going to small businesses for things, people buying less and consuming less. And yes, that's gonna kind of look like a recession at first, because a recession is just really categorized by a downturn in economic spending, consumer spending, but it is needed to rein back in our roots and to really be more focused on our communities at a local level and be circulating our money there. I think we're also going to start to see a big prevalence in trade. I saw this when I lived in Hawaii. Like, Hawaii is such a small island and things are so expensive when they are imported, which most things in Hawaii are imported, at least the island that I was living on. And it really blew my mind because people who didn't have a whole lot of money to get things that were imported from stores would trade with each other. Trade was huge there. Trading food for services or food for clothing or whatever it was. Like, people were really focused on trade there, and going back to like our roots before, you know, money was a thing, before currency was a thing, before we had like physical currency. And I'm not knocking physical currency. I think it's a great way to exchange value because I would much rather give my money to someone to buy apples than to have to knit a scarf to buy those apples, or to herd sheep and what is it called when you sheath when you whatever get the sheep wool from the sheep. I would rather much trade my money for those apples than do any of that physical like hard labor for them, right? But I do think we're going to start to see a return to that, and at least on a smaller scale, this bigger focus on what we can do within our community, how we can benefit our community, how we can share our gifts with our community on a really local level. And I think we're really going to start to stop relying on so many unsustainable ways to accumulate or to get, what's the word for that? To get goods. So this is really a form of Pluto and Aquarius taking hold. It is kind of forcing us to stop over consuming and buying things we just truly don't need, but that we're marketed to, or we see other people have that we're like, oh, maybe I would be happier if I had that, right? This is all kind of marketing. This is all a result of greed, and especially corporate greed, like wanting to make more money and wanting to drive up all the numbers and exponentially, and it's unsustainable, right? And so this is happening, and Pluto and Aquarius is happening so that we come back down to what really matters, and we do it from a way that is sustainable, that is actually beneficial to everyone on this planet. And let me tell you, buying shit from China is not sustainable for anybody, especially like cheaply made clothing from places where they are allowed to have child labor in sweatshops, and it's terrible what goes on in these places where there's not proper laws in place to stop this from happening. And that's why things are so cheap. They're not cheap just because they come from somewhere else. They're cheap because of how they were made. And how they were made is a really nasty, heartbreaking process. Have you ever seen the documentary, The True Cost, I believe is what it's called? It talks about the fast fashion industry and how it's a really big problem in these places where there's not labor laws in place to protect the people that are working in these factories, and the buildings are on the verge of collapse and fires happen, and they just tell them to keep working. They can't evacuate, and it's all really dirty and really, really gross. And this is what is happening behind the scenes when we don't pay the true cost for what it takes for something to be made, especially clothes. Clothes can't be made on a machine. They can't be made by robots. Yes, they're made with sewing machines, but a human has to make that garment with a sewing machine, right? There's no way to make clothes that I know of that exist where it can all be done by machines 100%. There has to be somebody operating that machine. And when we're buying clothes that are cheap, it's because the person that made that clothing was not paid a fair wage. And if people were really paid a fair wage, and that was really reflected in the cost of things, we would all be blown away. I've been blown away at seeing what it really truly costs to buy clothes from somebody that was paid a fair wage for it. And I myself have taken up knitting. Have you ever done anything like that, knitting or crocheting? It is very time consuming. Very, very time consuming. I would think of selling my knitting things, but I just can't. It's too time consuming, right? At least on a large scale. But I think, again, this is what Pluto and Aquarius is bringing us back down to our local level and a smaller scale. Before, we used to live in villages and we used to buy, our pants or our shirts or whatever it was, our beanies, in that local village, right? And we would go to them to purchase a thing, and it would probably be made on demand and whatever. And that's kind of what we're returning back to, is purchasing things at the local level and really only buying what we need. So many of us have enough, but yet we keep buying because we're constantly marketed to through apps, through social media, through wherever. We go and walk around and we're promoted. Oh, there's a sale, buy, because it benefits the system. But Pluto and Aquarius is about what benefits humanity, what benefits the collective, what is going to benefit this planet, and how can we work in harmony with all of that. This is really calling for us to spend less and only spend when it truly matters, or it's a true need that we have, right? And so there's this big contraction happening because of all of this. And it's going to really, like I said, promote this transformation of focusing on what truly matters and having the things that in our life that only truly matter to us and that are going to benefit everybody around us and the planet itself. So this long term is going to be a really great thing, especially for those of you who want to start a small business or have a small business selling crafts, selling art, anything like that. Like, it is really going to be encouraged and supported more and more as we get deeper into Pluto moving through the sign of Aquarius. Now, I've also said this in light of the North Node being in Pisces and Saturn being in Pisces. We are really in this time period where creativity and spirituality is a major focus, and it's going to thrive in the next year and a half. I've made other videos on this if you want to check them out, and I have a video talking more about it in my inner circle, my membership, and speaking more about Pluto and Aquarius as well. I'm adding new content to my membership all the time, so come check that out, come join if you want to be a part of it and learn deeper astrology and human design things with me and be a part of these transit updates that I do, going deeper into these concepts. I'm really excited about this. Like, my soul just knows this is what is going to benefit humanity, and especially like our country in the USA specifically. I think this is really going to support small businesses that are doing things on a local scale, on a local level, and not trying to shortcut everything for things to just be cheap for the sake of it being cheap. And I think we're really going to start to see those positive benefits sooner rather than later. So that's what I have for you in this video. Let me know how that resonates. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!